everyone, and welcome. I have quite a lot that I want to cover today, so I am going to dive right in. Firstly, I did visit the library today, but I am not filming in the car because this weekend is a very big weekend for Peter. He got his port put in, which is very exciting because just the chance of getting an infection and complications, everything is much less with a port as opposed to a PICC line, which he had the first couple months of his treatment. So he has a planned hospital stay after getting the port because he's starting immunotherapy. And most kids feel very rough with immunotherapy, and they run a fever, and so the hospital would want them there anyway to be monitored. And let me tell you, I never contemplated one of the very stressful and exhausting things about having a kid fighting cancer is that they are always one fever away from staying in the hospital. So it's definitely always in the back of my mind. And he did have one stay that he had to do because of having this fever. But they have not, he's scheduled to only stay for 2 days. So he was admitted yesterday. And then it's likely he'll get to come home tomorrow. So far, he does have fever. He's very nauseous. They have given him anti-nausea medicine now, and he is feeling better than he was in the wee hours of the morning. So it's likely actually he'll still get to come home tomorrow because his reaction to starting immunotherapy is very par for the course. So very unfun for him to be going through, but I'm glad that it doesn't seem like he'll have to do a super long hospital stay. So Arthur and I are staying at home, and Peter's dad is with him, and we go visit him, each day. And yesterday he was pretty uncomfortable from, it's surgery to get a port put in. So I was sorry for that, but after some good old medicinal aid, he was feeling some relief from the pain. So hopefully that's steadily, he'll be feeling relief from it. So Arthur and we did go to the library, and there was also a library book sale happening. So I didn't get much. I was pretty restrained. We got ginormous bookshelves back in August, and they're already almost filled. So if you are going to take up real estate on my bookshelves, you have to be worth the space at this point. So also my Christmas book collection, I don't have space for it in my regular bookshelves. So hopefully I can get Dave to cart it up in the big bin that it is in normally, and then I'll swap out some books that are out here and have those stored while I want the Christmas books out. But this Norman Rockwell Christmas book, they had 2 copies of this at the book sale. One was a hardcover, and normally I would get a hardcover of something like this, but it had tons of water damage in it. And I bought this book for one story, and it's called A Pint of Judgment, and I think it's by Elizabeth Morrow. Elizabeth Morrow, yes. And it is the sweetest story set at Christmas time with this family, and it's because of a misunderstanding of something that her mother says, that this little girl goes to such great lengths to get her mother this present that she thought she wanted. And it's so sweet and endearing. I can't remember if I read this entire collection, and I don't know even that I want to read the entire collection, but that short story, it's not online or anywhere. I couldn't find it just to access it that way. And so I thought, yes, I'm going to snap this up so I can own that story. I just enjoyed it so much. And then I am so excited for the book that I found for Peter. So this says Archive of the Civil War Map Edition. So you know that he has been interested in it, and as he's doing plans for his diorama, I want to take the price tag off here. As he's doing plans for the diorama, he keeps saying, I wish I could just see maps. And so he'll look at online videos that show kind of how everything played out during Gettysburg, but he can't see it still. And he's just always loved maps. And so I thought, I want to look at this. What is this? And it has Oh, let me go to the beginning here. I had it flipped. So, basically every major battle of the Civil War, it has an explanation, what happened with it, but the real reason I got this. And then it gives you a beautiful map illustrating everything that happened in that battle. And I just could not pass this up. It was $10, and I cannot wait to see his face when he opens it up. He's just going to have so much fun. So also it'll be cool because the major battles, he doesn't really know a lot about the major battles and kind of what happened and how everything played out. And I love that it's just one page for it. And I feel like he can understand what's in here. And I just think he's going to love this. So every year we do book flood or Yokaboka flood, I think is how it's said. It's an Icelandic thing. And we find a night sometime during Christmas tide and we do it. So it's nice that it's flexible. We don't have a specific date that we do it. And we can just pick the night that we want to do it and everybody gets a book. And I get to be the person that picks out the books, which is very, very fun. I just wanted to see if there was one for Vicksburg because Vicksburg, I grew up close to there in Mississippi. And so Vicksburg is where we went on a field trip when we were studying the Civil War. So it looks like it is not, but there's about maybe 12 battles in here. And I think that is going to be so much fun. Okay, I have my notes here. And I wanted to first talk about two movies that I recently watched and thoroughly enjoyed. One I watched for the first time, and that is the live action Mulan. So for the past couple of months, we have treated ourselves to Disney Plus, and it's been so much fun. Most of the sitcoms, I have to say, that I grew up watching, they don't hold up, and I don't enjoy watching them. But there are two exceptions to this, and one is the Lizzie McGuire Show, and two, Even Stevens. And my husband David has really been enjoying Even Stevens with me. It's just very clever writing, and I just find it absolutely captivating to watch. But the other thing, the other day, I heard it's part of the soundtrack to the live action Mulan. It's the same guy who did the Narnia soundtracks. Anyways, and I thought, boys, let's watch this. And at first, Peter thought I was talking about Pocahontas. He got it mixed up. He's like, I don't know, Mama, there's a lot of love in that movie. So I was like, let's just try it. And if you don't like it, we don't have to watch the full thing because it was one of their movie nights. They get 2 movie nights a week. And it was absolutely fabulous. What was a really interesting artistic choice they made with it is to make it kind of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So there's magic involved. And it just worked. It totally makes sense. It's in that wheelhouse of kind of mythology. And the whole concept of a woman disguising herself as a man and fighting in the army, it's really happened throughout the ages. And so the boys were completely fascinated by it, and it was just really cool. It was much more serious than the cartoon. It was more a historical fantasy drama. And I still love the cartoon. And in fact, I think later today, when Arthur and I get back from visiting Peter, I think I want to see if he'll watch the cartoon with me. I'm craving it. And just the older Disney cartoons, like I think I also, before we're done with Disney Plus, I want to rewatch Snow White and Sleeping Beauty because they're just so beautiful to see. And yeah, they're just a feast for the eyes. So I really enjoyed the live action Mulan. I thought it was really cool. So I would, if you had not considered watching it, but you have enjoyed some of the live action, then I would give it a try. And then I just have to talk about, and I think a couple of years ago I talked about it, but Lady Hawk. This is an 80s historical fantasy movie with Michelle Pfeiffer and Matthew Broderick and Rutger Hauer. If any of you have seen Blade Runner, I have not seen Blade Runner. But this week I convinced my parents to watch it with me and the boys. And my dad recognized him and said he was in Blade Runner. It is the coolest movie, and I have to say that it does have quite an anachronistic soundtrack. It's got all the synthesizer, but I just think it works in this movie. And this movie, it does have some kind of 80s cheesiness to it. But what I think I love about this movie so much is that it's a beautiful, beautiful story of being completely selfless in wanting to do good in the world and wanting to help someone purely for the sake of helping them, not for anything, not for gaining anything for yourself. And it's just a remarkable story of sacrificial friendship. And it's also got this very beautiful, sweeping love story to it. And I just can't get enough of it. So it's very much a late fall, winter movie to me. And so if you had not heard of it, or if you aren't sure it's for you, but you like kind of those plot elements, I would really just encourage you to give it a try, because it's just such a beautiful, beautiful movie to me. I love it wholeheartedly. So yeah, just watching it, and I've been listening to the soundtrack again more, and I'm just like, yes, I'm going to watch this at least 2 more times this winter. And I get generally impatient when I watch movies, but not with Lady Hawk. Okay, I also wanted to talk about a lovely, calm, warm, and inviting bookish podcast that I have just now listened to. So I had followed Meg on Instagram for a while and really enjoyed her account, her thoughtful book reviews, and one of my favorite books of the year is going to be is one that was recommended by her. And so I will do a favorite books of the year video. And Meg started this podcast called Meg's Reading Room. And oh my goodness. So I kept, seeing friends on Instagram post about it. I haven't had the Instagram app most of this year. It has just felt really overwhelming. So I like to go on, as a desktop site, and I do like to keep up with what some of my friends are doing, but not just mindlessly doom scrolling. So that's how Instagram is working for me now. I'm a lurker. I occasionally will send someone a message and leave an occasional comment, but mostly just lurking to catch up on my, my favorite accounts. And Meg's was one of those accounts, and kept seeing other friends whose taste I trust gushing over Meg's podcast. And so I started listening a couple nights ago, and it just instantly, it feels like you are sitting with a dear friend, sipping a cup of tea, and it's the most splendid, gentle podcast. So I cannot wait to just binge the rest of it. I'm a few episodes in, and I have really loved every single episode, and I hope that you would check it out and enjoy it as well. I did want to talk briefly about, where did that go? Here it is. Okay. My Bible reading for the year. My church is doing this Robert Murray McShane Bible reading calendar. And this is over the course of a year. If you follow the plan, you read the New Testament twice, you read the Psalms twice, and the Old Testament once. I think I could have that a little bit off, but I think that's what it is. However, our church has divided it up into 2 years. And the way that the timing of this has worked out means that my Advent reading would be 2 Chronicles. And I just thought, I'm not feeling inspired to read 2 Chronicles for my Advent reading. So I have been working hard this month. I was only about a week behind, but I've been working hard this month on going ahead and reading ahead. So I'm trying to, do the November reading, and we're just doing the one side. This side will be for next year. And then also the December reading this month. So I am almost through with 2 Chronicles. You can see I just have a few days left of that. And then my Advent plan is to read the She Reads Truth Advent devotional. I really like their devotionals. But I have to say, I've enjoyed 2 Chronicles a lot more than I thought I would. And it's just so astounding, the continued unfaithfulness of God's people, and then how patient he is. And I was so moved towards the end of 2 Chronicles. There are, Hezekiah is the prophet, and there are chronicles. There are heralds that are going around and spreading the word that they're tearing down the high places, these places where people were making sacrifices of children, human sacrifices, and tearing them down. And it's just so beautiful to see the repentance. So yeah, I really enjoyed 2 Chronicles a lot more than I thought I would, but I'm still glad that I will have my special Advent set aside time. And then also I want to say for the New Testament books, for while I was driving around doing errands today, I was listening to some of Hebrews and James, and I was listening to, there is a really cool audio, I want to say audio Bible, but it has music and just different beats that they put behind it. It's called Street Lights, and I highly recommend it. It's done for, they've made it, it's a project for urban ministry and to kind of make the Bible feel accessible to people that otherwise wouldn't. I can't remember what translation they use, but it's definitely a more modern sounding translation. And it's really just so easy to focus on when it's on. So I really love it for that. And so it was really cool to finish up Hebrews with that and listen to James with that. So I think the rest of the New Testament books I will, but they're slowly working on making the whole Bible, which is really very cool. Okay, now on to books, other books that I finished. I have to say, there's a lot about my life that I don't like right now. When I'm sick, my kid is sick. So I basically right now in my life, I love the people in my life, not the circumstances, and I love books. I feel like I'm just reading to save my life. That is something that has been so rewarding and fulfilling. And so I want to tell you about 2 Victorian novels that I finished, and I'm going to start doing special effects and showing a big number on the screen because I'm trying to get to 200 books by next October. And so for book 172, it was Hopes and Fears by Charlotte Mary Yonge. Sadly, after filming last week, my enjoyment, once I was 70% through, my enjoyment steadily decreased. It's just, I struggle with her very long books because to me, she excels and shines at the 350 to 500 page amount. And even the Stokesley Secret is less than 200 pages, and I completely adored it. So I think they just, honestly, they feel too serious. They feel very serious. There is not much levity, and it gets kind of suffocating at points. At the end of Pillars of the House, there was the sweetest proposal, one of my favorite scenes in the whole book. And at the end of Hopes and Fears, there was one of the sweetest proposal scenes, and it did actually have some funny parts to it. So I loved that. That was a real highlight at the end. I think, though, that the character of Honora, who I was speaking about last week, she just feels rather sanctimonious and unrelatable. I did not feel a connection to her at all. She's just so good that she didn't feel all that authentic to me. Not like there can't be selfless people, but just something about her felt just pretty untouchable. And so, unfortunately, I didn't love Hopes and Fears. It has Charlotte Mary Yonge's beautiful writing, but I just know, I come out thinking, well, it's got the beautiful writing, right? But then when I compare it to the other ones that I have loved so much, it doesn't hold up to it. So I will say the one exception for a longer book from her is Dynevor Terrace, and I can't remember how long it is, but that's a long one that I completely loved. But it is cool to have another Charlotte Mary Yonge book that I can say I have read. And out of Pillars of the House and Hopes and Fears, I will say I did find more characters that I loved in Pillars of the House, and finishing Hopes and Fears makes me think, oh, actually, maybe someday I would want to reread Pillars, which I came out of it being like, never again. So, Daryl, you were hoping it would be like Middlemarch, and maybe Pillars will be, because as I'm thinking, there were a lot of characters that I did have some fondness for. So, then, another Victorian book, and that is number 173, and that is Lilith by George MacDonald. Now, this was a lovely surprise. I had decided that George MacDonald's fantasy, based on the short stories that I read, that at most Lilith was going to get 3 stars and was probably going to be a DNF. This is prior to actually reading it. And then I started reading it and I thought, oh, this language is so beautiful. I don't know, it's possible it could get a 3.5 or even 4 stars. Well, then I get maybe 35, 40% in, and there's a linear narrative. This book got a huge 5 stars. I had no idea I was going to love it so much. If you are a Narnia fan, I think this would be such a treat. There's this wicked princess who rules this land where our main character, his last name is Vane, and I cannot remember his first name, but he enters the land through the library and the house. And so it's just got so many bookish elements. And this wicked princess has a leopard that is drinking the blood of children in the land. So she is very wicked. And there are many in the land who are frightened of her. You know, she's very tyrannical. And so our narrator, our main character, it's his quest to free the land from the wicked princess, whose name is Lilith. And it was just really captivating. I had no idea I was going to fall completely in love with it. And it just had some really beautiful, beautiful spiritual imagery to it. And it does, although I feel very sad then when I read George MacDonald, because there's some key theological points that I very much disagree with him on. That kind of, what do I want to say? They cross the line of orthodoxy. And so that makes me really sad because there's parts of it that are really, really beautiful. So that's just, I don't want to get into full details with that. I would be here all day. So I really did enjoy that. Then I finished a reread of Hannah Coulter. Such a moving book. And I just think it's really marvelous to get to hear from this woman about all the different stages of her life. And it's very encouraging to think, you know, each phase has its own unique challenges. It has its own ways that are rewarding and fulfilling. And it's just a kind of like keep calm and carry on type of book. But it's so much more than that as well. And it's just so beautiful. I love it. So yes, that was definitely really lovely to revisit that. And I'm looking forward to discussing that with my Patreon group in 1 week. So that will be such a treat. Okay, that was my Monday and my Tuesday that I finished Hopes and Fears. And then on Tuesday, I finished Lilith. And then on Wednesday, the boys were sleeping over at my parents'. And I spent the whole day kind of panicking about what fantasy I wanted to read and trying a couple and being like, no, I'm not in the mood for those. But I have to say, I came out with a winner. 2 things. I had forgotten how much I had really enjoyed Christina Baehr's Wormwood Abbey. And this is a very cozy historical fantasy that Amy from Amy of Hearthridge told me about. And so I did end up checking out the audiobook of Drake Hall, which is the second book. There's going to be, there are 5 books total. And it's Edwardian historical fantasy. So it feels, like your kind of British parlor novel, but there are dragons. And it's also got some beautiful theology woven into it. It's got such a love of books. And the main character I find completely enchanting. Now, the only thing is that I know Amy and my friend Lisa, they had later books in the series they didn't enjoy nearly as much. And I think Amy said the 4th book she enjoyed the least, but she has the 5th book that she's still planning on reading it. So I go in knowing like, oh, I'm going to be bummed if later on in the series it disappoints me. But so far, I'm really enjoying it. It's a very, this second book is also very short. The first one is short. So I am listening to that on audio and I love the narrator. So I don't know when I'll read the 3rd one, but I do want to, I think I'll complete the series. But I am a little bit apprehensive now knowing that Amy's, didn't enjoy the later one. So that's the thing about series. It's a leap of faith to start a series and you just don't know if you're going to like the whole thing. So then tried a couple different fantasy things, and after having enough trepidation about starting a long series, I was like, you know what? I want to try Green Rider. I just want to see. Now, a couple years ago, I was very grumpy after finishing The Wheel of Time because of how unsatisfying I found the ending. But I have to say, now a couple years out, I'm still completely unsatisfied with the ending, but I realized that I was kind of wanting a similar experience again, so a different series, but I really love, over the longevity of a fantasy series, or also a mystery series, I will say, you really get to know the characters in and out, and I love that, getting to spend so much time with them, and I also just love getting to learn about an entire other world, especially if the author does it in a way that isn't overwhelming, which Robert Jordan, he does it in a way often that is overwhelming, just with the info dumping. So I started this, and before I knew it, I had read 100 pages. I could not put it down. I'm very excited. So for better or for worse, I don't know if I'm going to like this as the series goes on, but I'm just hooked, and I'm really excited about this. The world I find completely fascinating. It is a world that a while back there was the Long War, they call it, and I can't tell quite, I could have missed it, but I think we maybe don't know yet how long ago the Long War was. And there was a huge, so they were fighting with a neighboring country, and then there was a huge wall constructed to separate these. And in the other country, there is lots of kind of evil magic and just really creepy kind of creatures, these spiders that have metallic shells to them. And there's a portion of the wall now. The land has experienced peace, but now there's a portion of the wall that has crumbled down. And there's some of this evil kind of seeping into our very safe nation. Also, there is a really angsty, bitter brother of the crowned king who is bitter that he was not crowned king, and so he's kind of plotting. Those elements I find really interesting. And our main character of Kerrigan at the beginning, a green rider who is a messenger for the king, is dying. He rides up on his horse and is like, please, you have to take this message to the king. And so it has been quite a journey for her to get there. She had run away from school after boarding school, after like spoiled Nepo baby had a fight with her, and then he was really mad because she humiliated him in a sword fight, and he had her kicked out of the school. And yeah, so I love her writing. I find it so easy to read. This is the shortest out of the series. The rest are longer. And I'm like, you know what? It's just, I wouldn't want to not read a series purely because it was long. And if I read fewer books next year because I'm, taking more time with this series that I end up really loving, then it's worth it. I do worry that it will get either too steamy or too violent later on, but I'm going in good faith because I love the writing so much, and I realize just how much I miss reading fantasy. I really like the audiobook reader, so I think I'm willing to use up a good number of Audible credits on this series too. And what's nice is my library has all of the ebooks as well, so kind of if I'm really wanting to plow through one and when I want to really be focused on reading more quickly, I can read the ebook. But when I have to be doing other things, I can listen to the audiobook. So I'm quite excited about this. And my hope is to finish this week. So I am 194 pages in, and it is 450 pages. So I think that's easy to finish this week. And then I did read a good other chunk out of the life of Andrew Jackson, and it continues to be absolutely fascinating. What a wild inauguration party that was had in the White House. But it's interesting because it sounds more like it was his posse that were wild and not really Andrew Jackson. He was kind of trying to hide from people, and he didn't want to have this big party. I was not really taken with his wife. She didn't seem that impressive to me. She seems pretty, what do I want to say? Just very buttoned up and just very weird. And right before his inauguration, she saw some of the salacious things being written about her and Andrew and how, they lived together before they were married. And then she just, she passed out from nervous exhaustion. And then she died a couple days later from reading these articles in the press. And I just thought, I don't think you were cut out to be a wife of the president. Although if I was the president's wife, I wouldn't want to read. I would want to be delightfully oblivious. I don't know if that's realistic, but that's how I would want to be. So he started in office right after his wife passed away. And another thing that was interesting is he was like this with Martin Van Buren. So it's interesting as I'm reading, you start seeing the next president in line, you start seeing them referenced more. And he wanted to appoint this guy to it's the Port of New York. I think something like managing the Port of New York. And Martin Van Buren is like, no, he is very untrustworthy. He's corrupt with his finances. Don't appoint him. But Andrew Jackson was very set on it. And this man, this is in the 1800s, stole over $1 billion and then ran away to Europe. $1 billion in the 19th century. It's completely astounding. I am enjoying this. I was hoping to finish this by the end of November, but now I've had 2 days that I haven't done my reading because I keep getting distracted by Green Rider. So I don't know if I will, but I definitely want to finish it before I run out of renewals. So we will see how successful I am with that. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I am about 40% into Winifred of the Chalk Cliffs. This is by Sabine Baring Gould, who I just raved about his book in The Roar of the Sea. And this one is just as captivating. This one is set in Devon by the Chalk Cliffs. And it also does involve smuggling. So I think, living in Cornwall like he did, it was just something that you knew about and you heard about. And it's very, very plot driven. And the character of Winifred, I'm intrigued by her. I don't know if I think she's very three-dimensional. I'm not sure. But the plot moves so quickly. His writing is just very propulsive. So that is highly enjoyable. So this week, the plan is to finish Green Rider, finish Winifred of the Chalk Cliffs, and then this is really idealistic, but I would also love to read Thrush Green by Miss Reed because of December reading plans that I have. I would really want to read Winter in Thrush Green by Miss Reed in December. It just seems like, I could also read that in January or February. It's very fitting for them, but I don't know. I'm kind of taken with that notion. So we'll see. If you do not know about Miss Reed, she writes very quiet, gentle, domestic stories about little English villages. And so she has a Fair Acre series set in Fair Acre, and Miss Reed is a main character in that. She's a school teacher. And a few years back when I first started reading Miss Reed, I preferred the Thrush Green books. But then with friends, I hosted a read-along of the Fair Acre books. We didn't quite finish, but I kind of burned out on that series, mainly because of Mrs. Pringle. Really don't like that character. And the setup of Thrush Green I liked more. So I'm very excited to read through this series kind of on a whim here and there when I feel like reading one. And then I would also this week really love to read The Premonition at Wither's Farm. I wanted to make time for it this week, but once I got going with Green Rider, I thought, nope, I don't think I'm going to get, a lot of other books read, which is fine because I'm completely loving Green Rider. And I really am craving this. So I want to show you the books that I got and briefly touch on in December. I am craving I'm in three reading moods for December. So the first reading mood is mysteries. I hosted for several years a mystery readathon called Cloak and Dagger Christmas. And then just the formality of it and hosting it, for some reason, it kind of took the fun away. And it's silly because it's fun to read books with friends, but something about making it a formal event, it just made it feel like an obligation. I don't like that it felt that way. Because it was really cool to see what other people would read, but it just did. So now I still read mysteries in December. I think it's very cozy to curl up with a mystery, and I'm really looking forward to that. So mysteries, then 2, I want safe, cozy domestic stories. So i.e. misread. I also will continue to listen to Mitford books on audio, the Mitford series by Jan Karon. It's so safe and endearing, and I just love it. I could be in that world all day, and I would never get tired of it. And then also, I do have the final All Creatures Great and Small book that I have not, I've never read actually. So I would maybe consider reading that one. I also have a couple others that I'm very excited for. So I don't want to be here all day. And then the final mood is festive. So I have some Christmassy books that I want to read because basically here's the thing. I can't eat kind of any exciting food. And so I can't feel festive with Christmas that way. And I'm really too tired to do much as far as celebrating. And with this Christmas, we don't even know if we're going to be able to be with family. So we rotate our holidays. And so it would be my family this Christmas, which is nice because everybody is driving distance. But there are a lot of children, a lot of very sweet nieces and nephews. And basically we've realized for our comfort level, for us to celebrate with family, everybody has to be healthy and not have a cold because of Peter's compromised immune system. If he gets a cold and then it turns into a fever, then we'll have to spend Christmas in the hospital. But I'm also trying to set my expectations very low because he could just end up getting a fever without being, around anybody that has a cold and will be in the hospital for Christmas. So I basically am trying to go into the holiday season with very low expectations. And then if things are better, then that's wonderful and fabulous. But all to say, no matter what happens, I want cozy books. I want reliable, good, mysterious, cozy domestic, and festive books. So trying to account for all those reading moods, and I have more holds coming in. I want to get some Christmas picture books as well. And I will just show you what I got. So a strange thing happened in Cherry Hall. This is a middle grade that I heard about. And there is a museum and it just sounds very quirky. There's things happening in a whimsical way. And I think it might be magical realism. So it just sounded very interesting. And let's see, look at that cover, right? Let's be honest, the cover is really what drew me in. Then my friend Elizabeth talked about and made me so intrigued about the Bletchley Riddle. So kind of, I have really, I've been oversaturated by World War II fiction, but there are some exceptions to this. And this is like The War That Saved My Life, The War I Finally Won, that are unique enough angles on it and then, I read and loved by L.M. Eliot, Louisa, June, and then that's going to really bug me. I'll put the cover right there. That is a World War II fiction that I completely loved. So when Elizabeth talked about this, and it's middle grade, I perked right up. So it is set in the summer of 1940, and these siblings find themselves at Bletchley Park. So I am just curious. So hopefully it is something about World War II I could enjoy. So this is, a sort of mystery, a historical mystery. I did pick up a couple Christmassy books. So I'm not going to start these until December, but I just wanted them here. And I can only take home with me so many books in my bag, right? I can only take home so many at a time. So I do have more holds, and I did do a deal on Kindle Unlimited that it was 99 cents for 3 months. And there's so many Christmas romances that I've seen on Instagram people talk about, but I don't want to spend that much money on it because I am very picky with romances, and especially I don't want to buy a $13 Kindle book that I've never read. So I was very excited to see so many of those fall into the Kindle Unlimited category. So Carolyn at the channel, Carolyn Marie Reads, talked about Susanna Clark's The Wood at Midwinter, and it's such a pretty book. And then does it have, it has illustrations throughout it. And so I think it's supposed to be a bit of a wintry type fairy tale, which you know me, I've just become obsessed with fairy tales, both retellings and original fairy tales. I am really looking forward to reading this, and I was so excited. My hold came in so soon on that. I have not read any Rayanne Thane, and I am not above genre fiction, but I do I have to like the writing. I have to like the writing. So I don't know if I will like her writing, but I am not above trying it. I want to try it, and I would love to just have some Hallmark type books that I enjoy in this season. It would be so fun. And then the 12 Dates of Christmas. This woman is single at Christmas time, and she signs up for a dating agency that promises to help singles find love before the holidays. And so she signs up for 12 dates with 12 different men. So it says, with each new date more disastrous than the one before, and the whole town keeping tabs on her misadventures, Kate must remind herself that sometimes love, like mistletoe, shows up where it's least expected. So I have no idea what I'm going to think of this, but these Christmas romances, people just make them sound so good. So I have enjoyed some Regency Christmas romances, so I don't know about contemporary. We shall see what I think. And then as far as mysteries go, I did go ahead and order a couple of them. So first is The Perplexing Theft of the Jewel in the Crown. This is the second in the Inspector Ganesh, our baby Ganesh detective agency, because he has the baby elephant that he inherits in the first book. And I really, really loved it. Oh, it's Inspector Chopra. That's what it is. Inspector Chopra. So I wanted to continue with this series. I love he and his wife's marriage. It's really, really sweet. And just really enjoyed the first one. So I have so many mystery series that I would love to read the next, that's lined up for me. Then this, I can't remember how I stumbled on this, but I love historical mysteries. And I haven't read that many that are set during the Regency era. So I love the sound of this. Midnight on the River Grey. Her brother mysteriously disappears, and she wants to expose whoever is responsible. So then she goes to, she has a new guardian, and she goes to his reclusive country estate, and she wants to investigate. It's in Greybourne Hall. So I am quite excited for this. And there are there are several more murders that happen. Now, also, the only copy that was available was large print, and so it's going to be so rewarding to just zip through this with a large print. That will be really nice. The next, Her Royal Spyness. It has been far too long since I read one of these. Love and Death Among the Cheetahs. She is finally married in this one. There was so much leading up to that. So she's finally married, and I am really excited to see she and Darcy go on a honeymoon in Kenya's Happy Valley. But, shocker, murder crashes the party. I completely adore this series. And then while I was panicking, trying to figure out what fantasy I actually wanted to read, I did go ahead and put a hold on The Flame of Seven Waters by Juliette Marillier. And this is the final Seven Waters book. Now, the Seven Waters series has been such a roller coaster for me. I completely adored the first two. Couldn't stand the third one. The fourth one, it was the struggle bus for the first half. And then I really loved it. And so was really glad that I read it. And then the fifth one, I ended up DNFing. I just skimmed the last part. I didn't even count it as a book read on Goodreads because I really did skim it. And I just thought, I'm not forcing it. And I know a lot of people didn't enjoy the fifth one as much, but I've heard some people say the sixth one is one of their favorites. So I do want to read this. I'm being completely irresponsible, right? I have all these other reading moves, but I was panicking about not having fantasy to enjoy. This is actually, realistically, as far as long books go, this is not that long. It's 430 pages. We'll see. It would be kind of cool to have a fantasy book on the go in December as well. I just have chaotic reading energy, and I am embracing it. Okay, everyone, let's go into this next reading week strong. I have to say, my two favorite times of the year to be a library patron are middle grade March and Christmas time. I just love to be able to pick up festive books and mysteries, and it's just very, very much fun to pick all those things up. I hope that you have a great reading week. And thank you everyone last week who gave me fantasy recommendations. I have started a list of your lovely recommendations to keep in mind when I finish the Green Rider series, and I am looking forward to that. Thank you as always for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye!